All right, what's up, y'all? Welcome back to the Mile High County College Football Podcast. This is episode 2. It's a little different scenery here. I'm really sick right now, so we're doing this over Zoom. If you see me mute my mic or something, it's just because I got a call or something. I don't want to cough on the mic. But yeah, it's different scenery. We had a good week of college football last week. I didn't get to watch a lot, but Jacob did. So we'll go ahead and get right into stuff. Jacob, you want to say anything real quick before we start talking about these games last week?
Let's just go ahead and jump into it. Why not?
All right. So, first we'll cover App and Georgia State since we talked about it. App won 42-17. The spread was, do you remember what the spread was?
No, I think it was like 2 touchdowns or between.
I think it was like 13 or 14 or something like that. Because I remember saying we would cover it and win by 17. But you said that we wouldn't cover it. But the funny thing was I said 34-17, which was very close. We scored a garbage time touchdown. Shout out to my boy Anderson Castle for scoring that one. Nothing really to talk about. Their quarterback couldn't really get anything going. Cam Peoples had a monster game, 23 carries, 168 yards, 2 touchdowns. We can move on from that one, though. That was about the only thing I seemed to get right this past week.
The first game that I want to talk about, I think, is probably the biggest storyline of the week, and that was Clemson and Syracuse.
Yeah.
Clemson was down most of the game, and then Dabo pulls DJ Uiagalelei out of the game and puts in 5-star freshman quarterback Cade Klubnik, and they come back and win the game. Cade leads 2 drives down the field. Will Shipley was a monster. But Clemson's able to survive a Syracuse team that really couldn't get it offensively. But Syracuse was very opportunistic, able to stay in the game. They had a chance to win it at the end, but ended up getting picked off. Just a great game, honestly.
You see it right here where my mouse is moving. 17. There was only 17 points scored in the second half, all in the fourth quarter by Clemson. We were together. We were in a Zaxby's in Raleigh, and I'm sitting there, and DJ, I think, had just thrown another pick or something, and I said, put Cade in. Why not at this point? And sure enough, we're sitting there, and then it's like the next drive, we see Cade has a helmet on the sideline throwing a football, warming up. And it just felt like a completely different ball game after that point. I know we only won by 6, but it felt like we were dominating the game at that point, even though we were down for most of the time. But that's all I can really. You already covered. You said Will Shipley was a monster, 27, 172, 2 touchdowns.
Dabo did confirm that DJ is a starter.
Yeah, and we're on a bye week this week, so there's a whole another week for them to get that all figured out too.
DJ doesn't get pulled, they probably lose the game.
I agree. Ohio State, Iowa was something we briefly talked about. It was the biggest spread of the week last week. We both said that they would cover, I'm pretty sure. It was like 28. And clearly they covered the 28. They almost doubled the 28.
It's a 44-point win, so yeah, they did almost double it.
CJ Stroud being CJ Stroud.
I'm not going to say a slow start, but it was 19-10.
It was really close. Because I'm pretty sure that 3 points that Iowa scored in the second quarter was early, because it was 16-10.
Right.
About the second quarter, I'm pretty sure. That's something I didn't get to watch that in live time, but we had a club basketball tournament this weekend, so that's why we weren't able to watch a whole lot. But I was in the hotel Saturday night, and I found myself watching the replay of this game. Actually, it was on TV, so I did get to watch a little bit of that. But we'll keep going. Alabama, Mississippi State. You want to talk about that?
Mississippi State just cannot do anything against Alabama. Multiple failed 4th down conversions on the Alabama side of the field.
Yep.
Just different things like that. Mississippi State could have been in this game but they just kept giving the ball to Bama, going for it on fourth on their own side of the field. Alabama's got a bye week this week. And, I'm still not sold on Alabama like I should be. I mean, it's a good win, 30-6. Like, it's not a bad win, but given the circumstances, I still have a lot of questions about them.
Yeah, Bryce Young didn't have a bad game. Like you said, it was a bunch of miscues for Mississippi State, really. Spread was 21. I do remember that.
Right.
I did say that they would cover.
I didn't. I said they wouldn't cover.
So they did cover. They won by 24. We'll keep going. Here's LSU Ole Miss. You called it. I wanted to be different. I took Ole Miss, but I did say I wanted to take LSU because it was in LSU. But you can go ahead and you can talk about that one.
So LSU was favored in this game by 3 points against an undefeated number 7 Ole Miss. And a lot of people were asking, why is LSU favored? Well, clearly they should have been favored. Just absolutely dominated. Ole Miss's passing game just has not been there this year. I mean, you look at Jackson Dart's numbers and they're not horrible, but they just couldn't get it going through the air. And an interesting note about LSU right now is the way it goes right now. LSU the SEC West.
Yeah. I mean, you look over here on this right side of the screen and you see the passing leader, the rushing leader, receiving leader for each game, right? And you see Jackson Dart had 283 passing yards, and you're like, okay, that's not that bad. Then you look down here, one receiver had half of those 283 yards. And they receptions. So you're just not spreading the ball out a lot. And also, you're not going to win a game when you let the other team's quarterback run for 121 yards and 3 touchdowns.
No.
I mean, they didn't score a point in the second half either.
Hostile environment like LSU.
Yeah. No.
And LSU, they have their bye week this week.
Oh.
They get Alabama at home. So.
These games are out of order, by the way. I kind of already realized that, though. But it looks like all the ranked games are first and then the unranked games. So we can just roll with it. TCU, Kansas State. This was a game I did get to watch some of. TCU came back. Was down 28-17 at halftime. Shut out Kansas State in the second half. I know there's a little controversy behind Adrian Martinez getting hurt. And if Adrian Martinez would have still been in the game, then Kansas State would have won. I'm not a TCU fan, so I'm not going to sit here and argue that. But, I mean, I thought TCU looked really good in the second half. Quentin Johnston is a beast, probably a first-round pick this year in the NFL draft. That's really all I got to say about that one. If you got anything to say about it.
Well, Kansas State got down to the third-string quarterback in this game. And,
yeah.
It's hard to win like that. But, everybody's got injuries this time of the year. 28-10 comeback from TCU is impressive no matter who's in the game. But you got to wonder about TCU. Will their first half miscues catch up to them as their schedule keeps going along? They're undefeated, but we'll see.
Then we go to Oregon UCLA, which was supposed to be the biggest game of the day. Oregon dominated, to be honest. It was 31-13 at halftime. They didn't really need to do much after that. Bo Nix had a great game. Five touchdowns. He almost had more touchdowns than incompletions. Zach Charbonnet, I mean, UCLA really didn't have a bad game if you look at the box score. Charbonnet ran for 150 yards. DTR had a pretty good game too. But Oregon just outplayed them by far. They deserved the win. Oregon's looking like a whole different team after that week 1 loss to Georgia. And I mean, as of right now, if college football keeps going the way it's been going and Oregon continues this run and doesn't lose another game, wins the Pac-12, you could possibly see them sneak into the college football playoff.
Absolutely. Oregon is making a serious case to be the best one-loss team in the country right now. I mean, the way they're playing versus the way some of these other one-loss teams are playing, you could seriously make that case. I'm not saying I agree with it, but
Yeah. Then we moved to Oklahoma State, Texas. This one I did get to catch the very end of this game. Amazing interception. I don't know the dude's name, but Oklahoma State had an amazing interception right there at the end of the game. Spencer Sanders had a great game, almost 400 passing yards. Bijan Robinson, as you see, had 140 yards rushing. It was a good game. Two teams just competing with each other. Unfortunately, probably did it drop Texas out of the rankings?
yes.
It did. Okay, so it drops Texas out of the rankings. I think it's a team that you'll probably see sneak back in at some point as long as they win a couple more games. It keeps Oklahoma State's dreams alive a little bit.
Oh yeah, it's looking like we're gonna get an Oklahoma State ECU rematch in the Big 12 title if things keep going the way they're going.
I would love to see.
I would too, and I would say if State can get there with one loss.
Uh-oh.
I think the last game out of these games that I won, Minnesota game.
Hold on, Jacob.
Michigan, they're playing a good team.
Okay, there we go. I'm back. All right. The internet was being spotty.
Did you hear what I said about the Penn State game?
I did not.
So I was saying that Penn State, after getting absolutely destroyed by Michigan, they're able to get their revenge a little bit on Minnesota and keep their hope alive in the Big Ten East. They get Ohio State this week, so Penn State's still alive, and maybe they're not a bad team.
Yeah. I mean, it's right there. I mean, they dominated Minnesota. That's all there is to it.
Oh yeah.
The
whiteout game.
Yeah, I told you I couldn't pick against Penn State at night at home.
No.
They don't lose those games.
No, they don't.
There was my hot take of the week last week. I said Boston College would beat Wake Forest. Clearly I was wrong there. 43-15. Cincinnati SMU, I don't think we covered that. We covered Memphis Tulane. I said Memphis would win, kind of as a fun pick. Tulane just dominated that first half, and Memphis just didn't have time to come back. That was all that really was to it. Kansas Baylor. Kansas drops another game. Unfortunately, I feel bad for them at this point. My super dog last week, Duke beats Miami, covers that spread by a lot.
Miami had 8 turnovers. 8 turnovers. That's horrible.
Yeah. I don't know if we covered any of these other games. Maybe Texas.
BYU and Liberty.
Oh yeah, Liberty dominates BYU. Dominates. Their quarterback had 5 incompletions. Their running back had 213 yards. Wisconsin beats Purdue. It's just unfortunate for Purdue. I wanted Purdue to be good, but they're not. Marshall beats James Madison. That and Georgia Southern beats Old Dominion. That puts a chance in the air for App to win that East side.
Big time.
They got to win though, and I think these just kind of get progressive. Oh no, here's South Carolina, Texas A&M. If you want to talk about that.
So for the first time in program history, South Carolina beats Texas A&M.
And
year.
Their stadium was rocking.
Mm-hmm.
It was crazy. Here's 2 underperforming ACC teams, Louisville and Pittsburgh.
Louisville's kind of turned their season around a little bit. They're up to 4-3.
Yeah. Michael, I just saw this right here. Michael Penix Jr. in a game where Washington only scores 28 points has 374 yards.
He's a great player.
Wyoming's running back had 160 yards rushing. Crazy. Okay. So I guess that's all we can really talk about last week. If there's not anything else you want to cover,
I don't
uh,
think
we can go ahead and move in and talk about the AP poll this week. So I'll switch over here. Um, we'll just scroll through here real quick. I mean, not a ton of movement this week compared to last week. The top 6 stay put. Clemson down here at 5 gets 1 first place vote, which I think was funny. And then pretty much just the teams that won kind of just moving up 1 or 2 spots. You see US Southern Cal enters back in the top 10. Oklahoma State enters back in the top 10. Wake Forest at 10. Ole Miss drops 8 spots from 7 to 15. Penn State jumps up to 13. Syracuse only drops 2. Illinois jumps up 1. LSU jumps in from unranked to 18th, which is reasonable. Kentucky stays put at 19, right? Yeah. North Carolina's moving up to 21. Kansas State drops to 22. Tulane moves up to 23. And South Carolina enters in at 25. Receiving votes, really nothing too interesting. Texas, like we said, a team that we'll probably see enter back in the top 25 at some point. Liberty, I think at this point is making a case to be a top 25 team. And I mean, yeah, you want to talk about your own rankings or?
Yeah, we can do that. So my top 5 is I have Michigan 3, Tennessee 4. And then I have TCU at 6, Bama. I have Wake above Southern Cal. I have Penn State over UCLA, Penn State at 12. I have North Carolina at 18 because they have the 1 loss. And then I have South Carolina over Kentucky.
Yeah.
And South Carolina 20, Kentucky 21, just because South Carolina won head-to-head, and they both have 2 losses. And then I have Tulane as the highest ranked G5 team. And then I have Liberty at 25 instead of NC State in the poll.
Okay. I haven't got to make my own top 25. Just because, like I said, I've been like super sick and I haven't been able to really do anything at all in the past couple of days. So I'm just looking at mine from last week. I guess I'm gonna keep my top 6 the same also. I went Georgia, Ohio State, Tennessee, Clemson, Michigan, Alabama. TCU can stay at 7. Ole Miss was at 8, so I'll probably drop Ole Miss. I'll obviously drop Ole Miss down. UCLA was at 10 or 9. I'll drop them down. I'm gonna jump Oregon up to 8. I'm gonna keep Southern Cal at 10. And this is hard. I think I'm gonna. No, I don't want to do that.
What are you gonna say?
I was gonna jump Penn State. I had Penn State at 13 last week.
Okay.
I was gonna jump them to 9. You know what? I'll put Southern Cal at 9. Penn State at 10.
Okay, that's reasonable.
Oklahoma State at 11. And then after that, it's kind of just like iffy. I would definitely. I'm gonna also throw Liberty in the back end. I'm gonna also drop NC State out. I don't think they should be in there. UNC, I'd probably move up within the top 20 like you did, not at 21 like they are in here.
Other than that, it was just little things I had different. Like I still had Syracuse at 14 over Ole Miss and Utah, little things like that.
Yeah. We talk about Heisman. I'll go ahead and say this because mine's boring. My Heisman is the same exact top 5. CJ Stroud 1, Hendon Hooker 2, Bryce Young 3, Blake Corum 4, Caleb Williams 5. There was nothing really this week that led me to drop any of those guys out, move them up, move them down, or bring anybody new in. So,
in my top 5, I had the same top 4: CJ Stroud, Hendon Hooker, Bryce Young, Blake Corum, and then my number 5, I have Spencer Sanders from Oklahoma State.
Okay. We can just do a sleeper pick like we usually do too. 1.
Okay. Non-quarterback?
Yeah.
Okay. This week. It's tough.
It is a tough thing to do. I think I'm gonna go with my same guy from last week, Quentin Johnston, wide receiver TCU. I mean, that dude's a beast.
Yeah, he's a freak. If I'm just basing this on last week, it's not a super sleeper, I wouldn't say, but he's not really in the mix either. I'm gonna say Will Shipley.
Okay.
He just had such a monster Heisman type game against a good Syracuse team.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So we can go and move into this upcoming week.
I think the first game that you should talk about if you want to go during the week, the NC State Virginia Tech game. I think NC State wins, but it'll probably be a snooze fest.
Well, my thing is about that game, right? Is since losing Devin Leary, NC State has been on a down spiral. They haven't looked good. Virginia Tech is, no offense to them, because I got friends that go there. I have a friend on their football team, but they are a dumpster fire right now.
Yes.
To be straight up about it, they're a dumpster fire of a college football program right now. And this is just a game. It's at home. It's on a Thursday night. NC State should be rocking, and they should easily win that game.
I agree.
Even though they've looked terrible, they should look like if they are a top 25 team, they should beat Virginia Tech pretty easily. And that's all I got to say about that.
I definitely think the game to watch in the weeknight games is Utah and Washington State.
Yeah, I think so too. Cameron Ward is getting first round hype right now.
Player.
In mock drafts, he's really good. He was somebody that I had no idea about really until this, like maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago. I was looking at some mock drafts and I saw his name on there and I was like, wow, I've never heard of this dude. So I started watching some about him, and Washington State's hung in games. They're only 4-3. They're 1-3 in the conference. They're 4-3 overall, but they've hung in games with good teams. They hung in there with I think it was UCLA, maybe.
And with Oregon.
Yeah, they hung in there with Oregon. I mean, they've hung in there with top teams. Yeah, they hung in there with Oregon. Yeah, they only lost by 3. They hung in early in the year in Wisconsin with Wisconsin. So I mean, I think it could be a trap game for Utah.
Not only that, historically, these Pac-12 weeknight road games with ranked teams have a history.
Yeah.
And Utah's a very good team, and they should win this game. I think they're going to win. The spread is 7. I'm taking Utah to cover that spread, but it's definitely a game to watch, especially in that weeknight time frame.
Yeah, I'll also take Utah covering that 7. Where do you want to move to next?
You can talk about the app game real quick since it's right there.
Oh yeah. We're playing the 0-7 powerhouse, Robert Morris University.
Homecoming.
Who 7 games have lost to Dayton, Miami, Ohio, Eastern Tennessee State 45-3, Delaware State 48-0 to Gardner-Webb, 41-10 to Campbell, and 38-14 to North Carolina. There's no spread on this game reasonably. I'll take app plus 42.
I will also take app plus 42.
Yeah.
More, honestly.
Yeah. Okay. Remember, these games are out of order here. So actually, no, they're not. Okay, cool. They're not out of order for this upcoming week. So we can start this.
First segment was the games that could potentially mean something.
Yeah.
That maybe you don't have your eye on. The first one was actually this TCU West Virginia game.
Yep.
This is at West Virginia. TCU's favored by about a touchdown. It's a 7.5 point spread.
Yep.
West Virginia can score. They're a very inconsistent team, but they can score. and TCU has struggled in the first half of games. So in the Big 12, anything can happen. And with a spread like that, I think there's a chance that TCU loses on the road. With that being said, give me TCU to win and cover.
I feel like the past couple weeks I've looked at West Virginia on the schedule and been like, this is a game where West Virginia needs to bounce back. And I just don't think, I mean, this is still a game where West Virginia could have a huge bounce back win, right?
Right.
But I don't think they have a shot. I'll also take TCU and the 7.5.
And I think with West Virginia's horrific pass defense, that Max Duggan and Quentin Johnson have a day.
Yeah.
I want to talk about was that Notre Dame Syracuse game right here.
Okay.
Syracuse is only favored by 2.5 points against a Notre Dame team that has been horrible this year.
Yeah, at home. They're at home too.
Yes. Notre Dame, you look at recruiting rankings, you look at all of this stuff. Notre Dame is far more talented than Syracuse. That's why this line is so close. However, I just think Syracuse, they've got fight, they've got heart. They almost upset Clemson last week. I don't think there's going to be a hangover, especially when you're at home against a brand like Notre Dame. I do think it'll be close, but I think Syracuse gets it done.
Yeah, I think Syracuse gets it done. And with it being 2.5, I'll take them to cover too. I don't think it'll. If it was like maybe 10, I might would take Notre Dame to cover. I think it'll also be kind of close, but 2.5 is just too low for me to not take Syracuse.
I agree. The next one I was looking at was Wake Forest at Louisville. I'm not sure where that one's on there.
You got time. Oh, here it is, 3:30.
Wake Forest only a 4-point favorite. The Wake Forest defense is not very good. Louisville has Malik Cunningham.
Yep.
So this game will probably be very high scoring. Don't be surprised if this game ends up with both of these teams in the high 30s to 40s.
Yeah, I agree.
But I do see Wake Forest scoring more points and winning by more than 4 points.
Yeah. I'll also take Wake Forest in the 4. Like you said, I think it's a shootout. I could see it being like a 56-49 type of game, you know. Honestly. I'll take Wake Forest in the 4, yeah.
The next game was this Illinois-Nebraska.
Okay.
Nebraska is a very tough place to play for anybody. Even when Nebraska is not good, it's a very tough place to play.
Yeah.
The winner of this game actually takes first in the Big Ten West. Nebraska 2-2 in the Big Ten. Illinois 3-1. Illinois favored by 7.5 points. You can make the argument for sure that Illinois has got the best running back in the country and the best defense in the country. Now, I wouldn't say they have the best defense, but you can make the argument. With that being said, Illinois favored by 7.5 points. I think Illinois gets it done. I don't think they cover just because Nebraska always finds a way to lose these types of games.
Yeah. I'm going to take Illinois and cover. I just think this is one of the games where it's big hype around Nebraska. Nebraska can win this game. They can win this game. And they just kind of lay down almost and don't compete at all. And it's like they're down at halftime. They come back a little bit in the second half, but they still lose by, 2 touchdowns.
Right.
So 7.5, I'll take Illinois.
Okay. This next game, Cincinnati UCF, it's a pick'em, which means that there's no spread.
Yep.
This game never disappoints. 2 really exciting teams. UCF scores a lot of points. Cincinnati can score. Cincinnati can play defense. It's just a lot of different storylines in this game. You got John Reese Plumlee, quarterback at UCF. He was with Gus Malzahn at Auburn.
Yep.
With this game being at UCF and the way Cincinnati's been barely scraping by, I think I'm going to take UCF to upset Cincinnati and win this game.
So here's something interesting about this game to me is after this game, UCF, right? They get Memphis next week, okay? But then the next week they have Tulane. So right now, UCF is looking at if they win this game, they're probably 7-2. Tulane, I don't know if they have two more games or not, but Tulane's probably one loss team. They're playing to win the American almost. You know what I mean?
Right.
Well, not win the American because there's a championship game, but then Cincinnati is undefeated in the conference, whereas UCF does have one loss. And if Cincinnati was to win this game and go undefeated until the very last week, they have Tulane.
Okay.
So for the storyline, I'm going to pick Cincinnati because I would love to see Cincinnati and Tulane be one-loss teams playing in the final week, essentially for that New Year's Six bowl spot.
Okay. I like that. I mean, either way, I think these two
Oh, I think it'll be a great game.
yeah.
I think it'll be a great game.
The next one I had, I believe it's a night game. It's number 15 Ole Miss, 2-point favorite at Texas A&M.
Yeah.
This game is Ole Miss's season. You cannot have a hangover. You cannot get down on yourself. You are still very much alive in the SEC West race, but you have to take care of business against Texas A&M. It will be a hostile crowd. You're only a 2-point favorite. You've got to go into College Station and get it done if you want a shot at winning the SEC West.
Yeah. -2.2. I mean, your favorite. How often in the past couple of years is it at this point in the season and you're going to Texas A&M and you're a favorite? You know what I mean?
If you're Ole Miss, not often.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, it's tough because I could see him getting a hangover and losing this game, especially at Texas A&M.
I could too, but I'm not going to pick that.
I just don't think Texas A&M is that good.
I mean, they've been horrible.
Yeah, they've lost 3 games in a row. However, one of those 3 games, they hung with Alabama. They got slaughtered by Mississippi State, and then they lose to South Carolina. Granted, all 3 games are on the road. This year, Texas A&M is 3-4, right?
Right.
0-3 on the road, 3-1 at home.
But who's the one loss to?
Appalachian State, baby.
But I'm like, it would not surprise me if Texas A&M didn't make a bowl game this year. Like 4 A&M freshmen just got suspended for smoking weed in the locker room in South Carolina.
Yeah.
Like those just distractions. Jimbo seemed to have lost the team.
Yeah.
I think Ole Miss goes in there and gets it done, and they cover the 2 points somehow.
I think they do too. I think Lane Kiffin is going to put a fire under that team this week and get a win there.
The last game that I want to talk about is probably the game of the year in the ACC Coastal, and that is Pitt at North Carolina.
Yeah.
See, 3-point favorite. They've got an absolute stud at quarterback in Drake May.
Oh, yeah.
The matchup to watch, in my opinion, is the Pittsburgh offense versus the North Carolina defense. You know that North Carolina is going to put up points. It's just a matter of can their defense hold Keaton Slovis and the Pittsburgh offense down enough for North Carolina to get a win at home.
Yeah. 3-point favorite. Honestly, I'm going to take North Carolina and those 3 points.
I think I'm going to too. But does it not just feel like a game that Carolina loses?
I do feel like North Carolina is due for a loss. I'm not going to lie. I feel like they are due for a loss, but I don't think it's I don't think it's to Pittsburgh.
Okay. I mean,
Uh,
I'm going to take Carolina reluctantly take North Carolina.
this honestly, you said game of the year. Honestly, if North Carolina wins this game, they might already lock up their spot in the ACC championship.
I think so too. And if they
They,
can keep
it
winning,
would be 4-0 with their 4 remaining games being Virginia, Wake Forest, Georgia Tech, NC State.
I wouldn't say
And
they lock it up though. That's two
I,
losable games.
yeah, I agree. But second place right now is Duke and Georgia Tech with both 2 losses. So all North Carolina would need to do is to beat either one of Virginia or Georgia Tech at that point.
That's true. If
So
North Carolina wins all of those games, goes into the ACC championship with 1 loss, I mean, there's a lot of scenarios, you know.
I mean, at that point, I mean, for example, if Clemson's undefeated at that point and North Carolina is what would 11-1. Yeah, 11-1. I mean, North Carolina's probably a top 8 team at that point.
Probably. Or here's another chaos scenario, ACC. So I won't get too far off topic, but what if Wake Forest is 11-1 with an overtime loss to Clemson?
I don't know.
You know, there's a lot. But either way, that's so the last 2 games that I have that are in the games to watch is Georgia, Florida, and Michigan, Michigan State. We can talk about Georgia, Florida first.
Yeah.
Really, there's 2 reasons we're talking about this one. One, Georgia's the number 1 team in the country. And 2, it's a huge rivalry game. It's in Jacksonville, Florida. Georgia is a 22.5-point favorite. Florida just seems to be reeling right now. They gave up 45 points at home to LSU. I just don't see a way Georgia loses this game. I mean, I'm a Georgia fan, but I don't even think this game's going to be competitive. I think Georgia will go in there and from start to finish dominate this game.
I think because it's a rivalry game, Florida does cover that 22.5.
Okay.
But I don't think they get like I think it'll probably be like 21. Like y'all win by 21, you know?
So a good 38-17.
Yeah. Or 42-21, something like that. Like, yeah.
And then the Michigan State, the same spread, I believe. I'm not sure what time.
No, 23.
Again, Michigan State, just a horrible team this year. They can't defend the pass.
Yeah.
Even though Michigan's not a passing team, they are a capable passing team. Michigan will cover the 23. I think without question, Michigan will cover the 23.
I'm just gonna say the same thing again because it's a rivalry game. I don't think Michigan State lets themselves get beat by 23. Again, I don't think that it's gonna be close, but I don't think they let themselves get beat by 23 in a rivalry game. However, it is in Ann Arbor, so that is tough.
Very tough for them. And then we're now on to the 3 biggest games of the day. We'll start with Ohio State and Penn State.
Yeah.
The fact that the game is at Penn State makes it interesting, I feel like.
Yeah.
If this game is in Columbus, no chance, in my opinion.
Probably Penn State season right here, to be honest. Not season. They're still going to a bowl game, but yeah. I mean, this is it for Penn State almost. I'm not in tune with the rankings in the Big Ten. But I'm sure that they're on the same side as Ohio State, correct?
Ohio State and Michigan.
Okay, so I mean, you put Ohio State with 1 loss, and then Ohio State beats Michigan. Now you're in a 3-way tie. First place.
It's just a huge game for Penn State, and the fact that they get it at home is huge for them.
Yeah.
But Ohio State's a 15.5 favorite.
Yeah.
And Ohio State is on fire right now.
They are.
I want to give Penn State a chance. This is the first real test for this Ohio State defense that everyone's been raving about.
Yeah.
I do think it's a much improved defense, but this will be their test. Penn State's got a decent offense. And the fact that this game is at Penn State might present some challenges to Ohio State. I do think Ohio State wins the game, but I think 15.5 is too high.
Yeah. I'm going same. I think 15.5 is too high. I think Penn State keeps it really close, but I think Ohio State pulls it out. It's hard for me to pick against CJ Stroud. I think CJ Stroud honestly is the best player in college football right now. And it's hard to beat the best player in college football.
Especially when he's on a good team.
Exactly.
Okay, so the next big game is Oklahoma State at Kansas State.
Yeah.
And Kansas State is favored by 1 points.
I would go ahead and say this. I'm taking Oklahoma State.
I am too, especially with the uncertainty at quarterback for Kansas State.
Yeah, exactly.
This is honestly the season for these two teams. They both got 1 loss in the Big 12.
Yep.
Not only does this give a team a second loss, it gives the other team a tiebreaker.
Yep.
So the winner of this game really sets themselves up nicely to get to the Big 12 championship game. The loser has an uphill climb and they might be out.
Yeah, because I'm sitting here looking, and it's TCU 4-0. Both of these teams at 3-1, and then it's Texas 3-2, Baylor 2-2, Texas Tech 2-2, Kansas 2-3, Oklahoma 1-3, West Virginia 1-3. Like, it's those teams feel separated, but it's like if you lose this game, then you are, I don't know what the word is, but I think you explained it well with the uphill battle. You're in an awkward position, and it's going to be tough for them at that point to be able to come back.
I agree. I do think Oklahoma State's a better team, though. And I think Spencer Sanders is going to have a day against the Kansas State.
Yeah. And honestly, for Oklahoma State, if they win this game, just because the Big 12 has been so crazy, I don't want to say that, but I would almost say this locks their spot in the Big 12 championship if they win this game.
So they beat Texas. They've played TCU.
They have
played Kansas State.
They go to Kansas, who's been struggling. Then they get Iowa State at home, also a team that's been struggling, but it's been in games. Their toughest after Kansas State is they go to Oklahoma.
That'll be tough.
And then they get West Virginia at home.
Yeah, I mean, if they win this game, they're definitely looking good for the Big 12 title game. Because even then, you can lose one more game, and Oklahoma State would have the tiebreaker over Kansas State if they win, and Texas.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I would agree with that. If Oklahoma State wins this game, they'll have locked their spot.
Yeah.
In the Big 12 title.
And then we'll move on to the last game, which is Kentucky-Tennessee, correct?
Kentucky at Tennessee.
12.5.
This is a very interesting game for me. Kentucky, let's be honest, would have 1 loss if Will Levis wasn't hurt. They probably would have beat South Carolina.
Yeah.
Kentucky's very, very physical. And now they have good quarterback play from Will Levis. They have a good defense. Kentucky's not going to be an easy out for Tennessee, but Tennessee offensively was firing on all cylinders against UT Martin. They scored 62 points. However, their defense did give up 24 to UT Martin. It's a very interesting game for me. It's hard to pick.
I want to make a point here. You said Kentucky might have 1 loss if they have a healthy Will Levis. Kentucky might be undefeated. You got to think they're 2 losses, right? They lost by 3 points to Ole Miss, and Will Levis went out halfway through that game.
You're right.
And then they lose to South Carolina the next week without Will Levis.
Now everyone's got injuries this time of year. I'm not trying to make
Yeah.
excuses.
No, yeah, me either. But I'm just saying, I honestly, I think you could see Kentucky being undefeated right now if Will Levis has been healthy this whole time. Kentucky is a really good team. Since they've got Rodriguez Jr. back, they've been flowing on offense. But I think Tennessee is going to bring the energy. I think Tennessee's ready for a huge matchup, them being 3, Georgia being 1. And I'm going to take Tennessee, but I think Kentucky covers the 12. I think Tennessee wins by 10.
Okay, I respect that. I think that Kentucky's definitely the most physical team that Tennessee's played.
Yeah.
But like you said, I think Tennessee is laser focused on Athens, Georgia.
Yeah.
And I think Kentucky wins the game.
Really?
I just don't think that they've seen physicality like that. And Tennessee's played some good teams this year and has had a lot of things go their way.
Yeah.
And not to mention, a lot of times teams like this that aren't used to the success will trip up in a game like this.
Yep.
It's my hot take for the week, too. I mean, I think Tennessee loses. I definitely don't think they cover. But I think that this Kentucky game is the game that they slip up on.
Yeah.
And I honestly hope that I'm wrong because I'd love for that Georgia-Tennessee game to be a potential 1-2.
Okay.
Gets it done.
I think, speaking of hot takes, we'll go ahead. Hot takes are hard. I'm gonna pull something from your bag here. I think Drake May throws for 350 yards and 3 touchdowns against Pittsburgh. That'll be my hot take. And then you want to do a super dog again? Did the last
super dog.
Who was yours again?
Huh?
Who was yours again?
I had Liberty.
Yeah, you had Liberty, right? And I had Duke, and I was also correct. Let me just. I'm looking at it on my phone right now.
Yeah, same.
I'm just scrolling through it on my phone real quick to see.
Okay. Spreads.
Carolina.
Not a lot of big spreads this week.
No. There's a lot of just low key. Like, wow, that's a bad game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I kind of want to take that one. I don't think I am.
No, I don't think I'm going to take a ranked game. Actually, none of these ranked games just look that good in terms of spread. I'm not sure. I'm not going to say Kentucky. I mean, they're a 12.5-point dog, but I'll pick somebody else.
Dang, this is tough this week.
Yeah, it is. There's nobody that's got a huge spread.
No.
I'm trying to find.
I think I got mine. It's gonna be really dumb.
Okay.
I'm taking. All right, hold on. Let me make sure. Oh, we've got to talk about biggest spread of the week.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
I'll say that real quick. Biggest spread of the week this week. Boise State minus 27 at home against Colorado State.
Colorado State has arguably been the worst team in Division I this year.
They're averaging 12.9 points per game and allowing 30.
It's only 27? Yeah. Give me Boise State.
I'll also take Boise State. All right, I think I do have my spread, and it's pretty dumb, but I'm taking it. Hometown team, technically. Give me UNC Charlotte plus 16.5 against Rice.
Dang it, I was considering that one. Yeah, that's a good pick. That's a really good pick.
That's like the only one that's reasonable.
Okay, I've got one. In a toilet bowl matchup, give me Northwestern to cover plus 11 against Iowa.
Oh yeah.
Now that game might be 10-0.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if Iowa can score those 11 points to cover.
Yeah, that's why I'm going Northwestern. I think even though Northwestern has not won a game since week 0.
I thought about taking this right here. East Carolina BYU, but it was only 3.
Yeah, that's just not enough, I don't think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like my Northwestern and Iowa. I like that.
Looking ahead. Oh, we got week 10. Ooh.
That's a nice game.
State Coastal, baby. Could this be
The
the
week
game of the year? Can y'all top Alabama, Tennessee? Is the real question.
I'm not giving my thoughts on that game yet.
Wow, next week kind of sucks. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I've seen one ranked game.
Well, Bama and LSU. It's a big SEC week.
Oh, Wake Forest, NC State. Woo. All right. Well, I mean, I guess that's all. Appreciate the support last week. Sorry for the different setup. Probably some technical difficulties going on there and there, but we're doing our best to get this one out. I think we got about approximately 130, I think it was last week. Let's see. We had, if it'll load, I think we had 130 views last week, 126 views last week. Sorry. So we appreciate that support from everybody. Honestly didn't expect to get that much. So we definitely appreciate that.
Try to
And
get to 150 this week.
yeah. Try to hit 150. Hot take of the week.
Hot take of the week.
But yeah, we appreciate y'all watching and y'all support. And we'll see y'all next week, I guess. Peace.
All right. See y'all.